and after you survived an assassination, you literally were shot in your head, and had the presence of mind to respond, fight, fight, fight. I mean, that's a political talent. It's undeniable. And also, I never believed that it was about fascism. And for me, that made it difficult for
Kamala Harris said that he was a fascist.
Yeah, well, it's like that's her prerogative. I mean, but it's not a word that I would use, because you put a lot of Democrats, especially in my state, that I know, and I happen to love people that are going to vote for Trump, and they are not fascists. And also fascism, that's not a word that regular people, use. That, I think people are going to decide who is the candidate that's going to protect and project, my version of the American way of life. And that's what happened.
I have a confession. I don't know much about John Fetterman. I see him a lot online. I've seen him on a lot online throughout the years, but I never really reacted to or gave him the stage to any capacity. I don't know how to feel about him just yet, but I will say what he just said here, man. He was telling the truth. You know what I mean? He talked about Kamala and Trump and the perceptions and things of that nature. And boy, I got a show for y'all today. We got your boy, Stephen A. Smith. And he's saying he regretted supporting Kamala Harris and is not ruling out voting for a Republican candidate. We're going to get to that a little bit later. You know what I mean? But I want to go ahead and make y'all aware of that. Like, yo, that boy, look, Stephen A. Smith, man, go ahead. We welcome you over here, man. Come on, dog. It's all good. You good over here. But back to the clip that we were just talking about. Somebody just said, stop supporting Fetterman. He is an ultra-leftist voting. He has an ultra-leftist voting record. He is lying for votes, and it's super obvious what happened to his wife. And is that really him? I'm sorry, but I like this guy. Somebody wrote, I'm glad he was recovering well from his stroke. Oh, I didn't know he had a stroke. Yeah, Fetterman seems like the only Dem that comes close to being reasonable. Okay, so I know he's a Democrat, and that people are not rocking with the fact that he gave Donald Trump that, level of, praise, but in terms of him having the political talent to do what he did. Now, again, this is the whole point of this video is about Stephen A. Smith saying that he should have not supported Kamala Harris. Now, as somebody who used to be a former who's a former Democrat, used to be very liberal in my way of thinking. Once I decided to jump off of the Democrat plantation, man, I had so much negativity coming from the left. I mean, so many people that I grew up with, and things of that nature, people that I thought were friends and just genuine associates turned their back on me. Similar to this experience.
So ever since I've showed my support to Donald Trump, the internet has called me a clown. I'm not educated. I'm not black. They wish Donald Trump would rape my daughters. They want me to go jump off a bridge. I mean, the amount of hateful things that people are leaving under my comments, it's so disgusting. You guys are so for love and peace and unity, but actually, you guys are the most hateful people. You guys are a bunch of snowflakes. You can't handle somebody just stating their opinion. You can support Kamala Harris on your page. That's fine. That's okay. I don't expect anybody or everybody to think like me. So it's wild to me.
Now, obviously, that video, well, maybe not that particular video, didn't seem so obvious, but I want to say it's obvious that I may play some clips that were prior to November 5th, the election, but ultimately the election. But I think it's important to provide just context before we get to the Stephen A. Smith clip. Seriously, Google, Facebook, Snapchat, all got called trying to censor Donald Trump and all that, but the people, all of us, we did our due diligence and did our research, and boom, we came to our conclusion on Donald Trump as opposed to listening to the mainstream induced narrative. And now that we've empowered ourselves with knowledge, they just can't take it. They can't stand. I mean, they cannot stand it. Now, coming off of the, before we play the Stephen A. Smith clip, I want to play you the clip that we had yesterday when Lindy Lee, who helped raise millions for Kamala Harris, is becoming, she's removing herself from the Democratic Party. My fault. I don't know why I'm having these brain farts trying to relay this transition. Anyhow, she used to work with Kamala and now she's considering not being a Democrat anymore. Check this out.
You see this going. What are the Democrats going to do? Are they going to carry on villainizing people like you? Or do you think that the coffee is going to get smelled at some stage and they're actually going to wake up and find a candidate that is more electable and find people like you a place in that tent to try and drive to an election victory?
I don't want that. I don't want to be a part of this tent. I don't want to be a part of this craziness anymore. They're accelerating my rightward shift. I don't want this nonsense. It's just crazy. And honestly, they're shrinking their tent. They're basically telling me to they're pushing me to bring my tens of millions of dollars that I've raised and can continue to raise to a different team that treats me better, that treats me with just common decency, that doesn't call me a communist spy. By the way, the communist regime in China killed my great-grandfather. They don't know my family's history. This is the first time I'm really saying it on air. They are calling me a spy for the regime that killed my great-grandfather. Let that soak in just for a second. That's how disgraceful they are. Yeah. And these are the people who call themselves the social justice warriors. They are dabbling. They are going headfirst into racism anytime someone dares to disagree with them. I don't want to be a part of this nonsense anymore. I want to be a part of the team that says men are men and women are women, and then men shouldn't play in women's sports. And I'm an athlete myself. I'm a marathon runner. I don't want to run against a man. I know I'm going to get trounced. That's just biology. It's science.
Of course.
It's not politics.
Of course. And it always has been just a matter of clear.
Yep. People are jumping ship off of that Democratic Party now. It's time for y'all to get to the main event. You know, I tried to make sure we didn't get to over 8 minutes before I played this clip. And I know I've been talking about it the whole video, but and the time is now, man. Stephen A. Smith says he regrets supporting Kamala Harris and is not ruling out voting for, he should have voted for Trump. That's what he should have said. That's what he should have said.
Obviously, Donald Trump can't run for president again, but if he could, under the current circumstances, could you see yourself voting for him?
Quite possibly. I'm not going to sit up there and dismiss that anymore. I think we're beyond that. He would have to prove a lot, Mark. And I'm not talking about policy now.
I'll say he said that a little too fast. It sounded like he wanted to be like, man, I should have.
Prove a lot, Mark. And I'm not talking about policy now. For a second, allow me to say this. What concerned me about Donald Trump and the reason I voted against him and voted for Kamala Harris was because I felt that he would be divisive, that he would create chaos because he demands such a level of loyalty and fealty to him. And that would take priority over governing our nation. That was my concern. And so I'm looking for both.
I don't like that perception. I mean, I don't like the perception that Donald Trump is doing what every single president has done in the past, but because he's doing it and he's Trump, that, you know, he's somehow doing it out of frivolous and with, you know, evil intentions, or somehow, you know, everybody has to be under his control and he has to have people who are just blindly loyal to him. And I think that's a false narrative.
Over governing our nation. That was my concern. And so I'm looking for both sides to work across the aisle from one another. Having said that, when you see some of the things that he said, if he follows through on some of the things that he has said, it's not just about eradicating inflation, improving the economy, obviously controlling our borders. These are all things that I care about. Make no mistake about that. And I certainly would support him in that regard. But it can't be just about fealty to him and loyalty to him. It has to be about getting the job done on behalf of what's in the best interest of the American people.
I feel like that's a cop-out point. I'm sorry. I know I keep pausing on it, but I just feel like it's a cop-out point. I feel like this is a way for him to go, you know, hey, I really support Donald Trump, but let me kind of, you know, blend in some level of reason for the people who I may lose in terms of viewership if I just come out right and say that. So I'm going to give him some sort of pushback. But I genuinely believe that, I mean, I could be wrong, but I genuinely believe that, you know, he really, really rocks with Trump.
About getting the job done on behalf of what's in the best interest of the American people, as opposed to yourself, and not engaging in a kind of juvenile tendencies, tweeting all the time and going after people who are really much irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You do things like that and you show that you're the adult in the room. Yeah. I don't think anybody could dismiss Donald Trump at this particular moment in time, not just because of him, but because of what we've seen the Democrats do. We're not falling for it any longer. The American people aren't falling for it any longer. I voted Democrat, and I got to tell you something right now. I don't like the fact that I did. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't want to hear about, oh, we're about law. We're about a law. Nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. But then you go out and you pardon your son and you try to blame everybody else for it. I don't want to hear about defund the police. I don't want to hear about, what, there should be open borders. I don't want to hear this stuff. And I don't think most of the American people want to hear that. We're thinking about the state of affairs that's in. We're not about America only, but being about America and prioritizing what's going on in this nation with the desolate and the disenfranchised and everybody else in between, and looking out for the best interest of what it is for America. That is not a crime for an American politician or a commander-in-chief or a senator or a congressional figure to have that mentality. I want them to have that mentality. So I think about things along those lines. And I'm no longer interested in, nor do I believe any of us should be interested in listening to a bunch of fear-mongering to tell us who we shouldn't vote for. Why don't you come up with a plan that tells us why we should vote for you? That's what I'm interested in. And if Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Byron Donald, Marco Rubio, or the host of other Republican candidates coming down the pike, that's the kind of message that they're going to put forth, I'm down for it. I'm open-minded enough to make sure that I entertain that from a policy perspective. That's what I want for the American people. That's what I want for this nation.
Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. I know that you got some people frustrated with him, some people on the right, some MAGA supporters. I get it. I know y'all like, oh man, come on, dog, just go ahead, But the one thing I will admire about, I can't say I admire about him is the fact that, he have a platform, he talks about sports, but it's a platform mixed in with people who are conservative, independent, liberal, Republican, or whatever. And even though we can read between the lines of what he's really saying, I feel like it's important for people to watch his transition whom may be on the liberal side of things. People whom have that mindset that everything that Democrats do is just, good as gold. I think that people like him in this space are helping transform that mindset, for the people who don't like to critically think, too heavy outside of the talking points that we receive online and things of that nature. So salute to him. How y'all feel about him saying that he's not ruling? He shouldn't rule Trump off the table completely. I feel like he felt that way prior to that. I'm trying to Google him. I'm on X right now to make sure we don't have anything extra in regards to this. Yeah, I'm seeing some right now. Stephen A. starting to come to his senses. Yeah, he's coming to his senses for sure. Definitely coming to his senses. And I like the fact that he's I don't know. I'm trying to make up talk as I'm browsing, y'all. I'm not doing a good job of it. I'm really not. Anyhow, I'll read a few comments then. It said, I can respect that, but just like everyone else knows, Trump has proven that he can get the job done. Even if it comes down to executive orders, can't get worse than the last 4 years. Of course it can't. When the woke wake up, Stephen A. Smith is becoming more awake by the minute. Definitely. I believe it's all talk, but a vote is still a vote, somebody wrote. On brand for the professional Monday morning. QB. If he voted for Harris, there's something wrong with him. I think that he voted for Trump. I don't know why. In my heart of hearts, I feel like he voted for Trump. I can't tell you why. I know we could probably look up the information online somewhere. Stephen A. Smith is a fraud. Don't listen or believe anything he says regarding politics. He's leveraging the attention to expand his personal brand. Doesn't give a damn thing about the racial woke politics he's always championed. Al Sharpton with a bigger audience. What? I totally disagree. I mean, the guy's talking, he's speaking nothing but facts. Honestly, I'll just say this. Trump's TDS looks curable. It's starting to look curable. That's all I'm saying. Hey, he's starting to wake up. All I'm saying, he's starting to wake up. He's starting to let these Democrats know. You know what I mean? And it started before this, but I think the wake up moment has really happened for Stephen A. Smith when he finally had a chance to find out the truth about the 26 informants on the ground on January 6th. And, how the FBI involvement with it and all that. And yeah, and then you had Roland Martin reply to him, and then he replied to Roland Martin, doubling down. Yeah, man. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith.